Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us this evening. This is a special meeting of the Council of the City of Buckhannon. We will begin this meeting the way we begin all of our meetings with our traditional moment of silent reflection. So if you please join us as we take that moment, and then we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On our agenda this evening, we have just a couple of line items. This again is a special meeting. We have a regularly scheduled meeting tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock within City Council chambers at City Hall. The topic of discussion this evening is, of course, the first due fire fee that possibly could be implemented here in our community. Discussions began relative to the first due fire fee starting back in 2014. At the time, Mitch Tacey was chief of the city fire department, and those conversations have taken place on and off. I became a council member in 2016. They were taking place then, and they've continued to take place up until now. I'd like to remind everyone that we do have a few folks that have indicated they wish to speak. Please keep your remarks on topic. Please keep your remarks civil, and let's try to maintain a professional decor in here this evening. We are here, first and foremost, everyone in this room is here because we care about our community, and we care about the people who live in our community, who when they call 911, we want them to have fast and professional responses. And that is why we're here. So if we keep that in mind, that we're looking for a way forward to try to make try to give our citizens the best opportunity to receive high quality emergency services when they need them, that's what we should be keeping at the forefront of tonight's conversation. So with that, we will begin with recognized guests. We have several that indicated they wish to speak. First up, and if you would please join at the podium when there's a microphone there when you're called to speak. First up is County Commissioner Christy Tenney.
Thank you. And thank you for those words. Very true. You know, all of us here this evening are here because we care about our community. And I'd like to just start off with you this evening. I went through some articles, and as you indicated, Mayor, you know, this has been a topic for a long time. But really what I want to share with you this evening is it's been a conversation, but never really around a round table. I looked back, and back in February of 2021, Fire Chief Kimball had stated a statement that I agree with, that securing more financial support from the Upshur County Commission or through an increase across the board county fire fee is preferred to implementing the first due fire fee. Later, it was stated that I think we need to have a committee with myself and a representative from the city and the county, and maybe we can try to come up with a solution to this problem. As you indicated, Mayor, this has been a topic for a long time. I came to you in May of 2024 asking for us as elected officials to meet together to discuss some hard topics for the betterment of our citizens. In February of 2023, I had the opportunity to meet with City Recorder, Mr. Randy Sanders, along with the Mayor, Fire V Clerk Tony Newman, and then President of the Fire Board, Joe Gower, and asked if we could meet to discuss some of these hard topics involving fire and fees in hopes to come together as a county and look at what is best for all the citizens, not to cause division, but to come together. As I come again tonight, I ask if we could come together to form a task force where the city and the county officials, along with volunteer and paid representatives, EMS, and 911, come together to identify these problems and look at solutions to these problems. We know there may be some hard conversations in that, but again, unless I'm incorrect, I don't think that's ever been done. I encourage you to consider working together and not cause division throughout our county. I'd like to leave you with two thoughts. First, what is our role as elected officials? I believe it is to serve the people of the community, which we all strive to do. And secondly, I'd just like to leave you with, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. Up next, Jim Valenson.
As a citizen of Buckhannon, I just wanted to thank you for putting this together. The Upshur County and the city is all on here. We need to get this problem worked out as a whole unit. Number one is that being a citizen of Buckhannon, we already have the fire fee increase this year. So that's one thing that fire to me is very close. I feel that it's one of the most important things that we can have. That being said, there's 6,000 citizens in the city of Buckhannon, and we have a county of 26,000 people. Our fire department does travel out of the city of Buckhannon quite often, leaving the city unprotected. Unless it's a very large fire or a large incident, to get help from Elkins or Weston. So at times, we are basically unprotected as a city. That bothers me, because our taxes are going to the fire department to be here. I look at it, that the first due fire fee, we're looking at it the wrong way. It's not a negative. It would give us the opportunity to hire another professional firefighter per each shift, which means that we could have a truck still in town while we're helping in other locations. So we got to spin it and turn it that the positive is that we could have more professional services available in the county. Everybody says it's long, we take too long to get there. Believe me, I've looked at the record. I've run for city council. That's just one of the things I was wearing my hat on, is that how often we are the first ones there to call. So it's not to cause a negative impact here, and I think that we all have to work with it together. But having the first due fire fee, I think we have to look, there is a positive side to it also. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Just for clarification's sake, Commissioner Bush, you did not circle yes or no. Do you wish to speak or
No, I think
Okay.
Christie spoke for the
Okay. And Tammy Rigger with the chamber, you did not circle. You're okay. All right. Okay. Up next is Delegate Adam Buckhannon.
I appreciate the council and the mayor. I want to say as well, I think your words there were kind of spot on. We're talking about government's role in public safety, fire, EMS, and police are very important and should be very important to try to provide high quality services there. So my first question is, am I allowed to ask questions of you all to get any response, or am I solely speaking on?
You can ask questions, and if I can't answer them, I may have to defer to our chief or our city attorney, but sure, you can ask questions.
Okay. How much is planned to be collected off of the first due area?
Not sure, and here's why. Because as of right now, so just to give you a little background, okay? What is currently on our GIS map is what are the first due areas for each department. All of the chiefs got together here recently within the past couple of years to kind of look at each area, to look at maybe there are certain areas that just for example's sake, not picking on anybody, just throwing one out there, maybe Warren District can't get to as fast as, say, Buckhannon could, or maybe Ellamore couldn't get to as fast as, say, Buckhannon could, or maybe Thomasville could get to faster than Buckhannon could. So what our fire department and what our city hall staff have looked at so far has been based on the map that is currently online. It is not the updated map. So if our numbers are not fully, they're not exact. Chief may have an estimate, but they're not exact. And also, it depends on, there has been discussion, just so everybody is aware too. Back to Commissioner Tenney's point, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Per the legislation, the city can impose a fee that is 1.5 times the fee that the city residents would pay. The council has discussed that we believe that if this fee is implemented, it should be the same fee for inside the city limits as well as outside the city limits. So, but those conversations have taken place. Obviously, that would change the number that would be assumed. But Chief has stood up, and if he has a number he wants to throw out or quote.
So, 2020 census, there's 3,300 residents outside the city that we serve. Our total population of our fire district is just over 15,000. There's 2,200 households in the city limits. Now, when you go to commercial, I'm used to a square footage, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So, I was basing it on square footage. There's 3.4 million square feet of commercial space outside the city limits that we serve. I don't know what their gross, because the city does theirs based on gross income. I have no idea what the gross income of businesses are, so when you look at 3,300 houses outside the city limits times 90, you can do the math on that. So that's on residents. I have no idea what the gross income of businesses are in the county, so I can't give you that amount. So 3,300 times $90 is the residential.
And so the answer to my next question is, will the city be the same as the first two area? And you're saying believe that would be yes.
The council would have to officially vote on that, but based on the conversations, I don't want to speak for anyone here, but based on the conversations that we've had, that's the direction that it seems that we would go.
No.
Same service, regardless of which side of the line you're on, would make sense.
No, I can definitely appreciate that. In this process, will the county continue to collect their county fire fee in the first two area as well? I understand that's their jurisdiction, but it seems when municipalities are having these conversations where it's kind of a gray area that nobody seems to know. So what would your take be on that?
Yes, I believe so, because as in a conversation I had, Reporter Sanders and I had with Joe Carrico following a meeting recently, he indicated, and I checked and I believe it's correct, that just because the city were to impose a first due fire fee, it doesn't wipe out the county fire fee. I know that like in Randolph County and in Harrison County, those counties did not have fire fees in place before the city of Bridgeport and the city of Elkins imposed their fire fees. The countywide fees came after that. Lewis County, where you reside, I believe, had a countywide fire fee before the city of Weston imposed their first due fire fee. I actually had lunch with Mr. Stansberry today, talking about a multitude of things, but he knew that this meeting was tonight. And I know that one of the things that they've been talking about is how can they utilize that fee that was from the county fire fee to then turn around and help the volunteer departments in Lewis County. We haven't we're in the very beginning stages. Yet, yes, this has been talked about since 2014, but this is the furthest that it's gone. I will say that. We've had conversations, but they've kind of just, they've been conversations, and then other topics that have taken over. But this is the most consistent the topic has come up. So we still are in the very beginning stages, but from what I've seen, from what I've read, yes, that fee would still be collected, which is $25.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. So I first want to, I know there's volunteer firemen as well as paid firemen here, and I want to just let everyone know I really appreciate more than I could ever say what you guys do when a bell rings and you show up at a car accident or at a fire or whatever it may be. So I want to send my appreciation out to you. You probably don't get enough thank yous for that. And I think there's a big concern across the state and really across the country when we talk about public safety, and really when we talk about volunteer fire departments, when we talk about volunteers. Volunteerism is at an all-time low in the fire service, as well as a multitude of other things across our society. So that does begin to create a problem when we're talking about needing volunteers to answer those calls. And I understand that in Weston, and I'm sure that Buckhannon, I don't know your stats as well, that some of those units might be scratching, and then you're answering and filling that void. And so there's no denying that that is reality today. But when we talk about offering services outside of city limits onto county residents, I fully will agree that that is a municipal service that is being provided outside of there. I do believe those are county residents, and I do believe there should be a more collaborative effort in how we're approaching this from a county-wide standpoint, that it shouldn't be city, even though city does have a unique opportunity here to provide a very high-quality service that they've been providing inside the city limits to those county residents. But I still believe that that is the county commission's decision, and that is a county resident's decision if they want those high-quality services to be provided in their communities. And when you look at the statute, I believe it's 81313 that is used to create this user service fee, there's no input from those county residents in this. They can't petition against it, they can't vote in the elections, they can't collect signatures, they can't do anything. They're simply just being told what to do, what to pay, when to pay it. And but they are going to receive, and I will agree, a better high-quality service. And so I'm in a unique position in Upshur County that I represent only the southern portion of the county. So Banks Volunteer Unit, Adrian Volunteer Unit. And so in representing that rural part of the community, I believe that a more collaborative effort would serve the county better, and I really think that it would serve the city better. And because I believe that the services that you all have the ability to provide are of high quality and can be beneficial across the county. So I appreciate your time, appreciate the information, and I know it's a tough subject that we've got to solve here.
Thanks, Dr. Buckhannon. Okay. Cody Cutright.
Hey, good evening, and thank you all for this conversation we're having. For those who don't know, I'm an assistant chief in Hodgesville in the northern end of the county. I've been asked after a fire association meeting here to just kind of come and present a question and statement, I suppose. And first a question, I guess just for everybody's sort of awareness and unification. Roughly how much does one firefighter with benefits cost a year? The city. I know that's a rough estimate. I just trying to get a ballpark idea in my head, personally.
Are you asking fully outfitted with turnout gear, plus salary, plus benefits, plus training, plus all that, or?
Salary, roughly. I mean, that's really, I think, kind of the big driver here. I understand there is training on top of that.
So if you were to look at the salary, the benefits, the training, the insurance, like the liability insurance on them, plus the turnout gear, you would be looking at between $120,000 to $135,000 per person.
Okay, thank you. So kind of along that thought, this topic obviously was brought up at the Fire Association. They asked me to come and say a few words. And we've tossed this around at large, right? We're having a conversation internally ourselves about how do we solve this and how do we provide better services. And it's no secret, and departments are aware, particularly during the day, we have an issue with staffing, right? Many members work during the day, and sometimes that leads to less desirable service for some departments. So from the association perspective, we would like to ask, I have been asked to submit that any sort of implementation perhaps is delayed until the first of the year so that we can sit down collaboratively with the city, with other agencies, and have this conversation that's been talked about, but maybe perhaps not happen as openly as it should have, and have these hard conversations. Our goal is to draft a proposal to help address the issue of manpower, particularly during the day. I can't give specifics, right, because we haven't had that conversation. I will tell you there was some lively discussion. And one example, this is again not set in stone, but this is an example of ideas we were given was, is there a way perhaps, and this is from the Fire Association, this was not in consultation with the County Commission until we have these conversations, but is there a way to hire perhaps at a civil servant equivalent level of standards and training some firefighters from say 7 to 3 or 7 to 4 during the week, and for hopefully less money, supplement, augment the Buckhannon Fire Department, perhaps with some firefighters staffed to the south of the city. Let this operate truly as sort of an interagency department where if the city goes out, maybe those units move up and vice versa, to where we have more effective manpower during the day. Now this is just an example that we've talked about, but things like that are the proposals we'd like to work towards and see if we can truly, if the county fire departments can truly more better serve the city and vice versa. And we appreciate, I think it goes without saying, we appreciate all the times Buckhannon Fire has made it out to assist us. I think that goes without saying. And if there's a way that we can resolve this agreeably and perhaps still increase overall the amount of paid quality manpower, particularly during the day, I think that would be agreeable. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Mark Howes.
I just got a couple questions for you. On this, I don't think that microphone, you can hear me. On this, the fire fee, when you do the first due area, you still say that there's still going to be a county fire fee added to that also? Will the other departments lose money is what I'm asking?
One point of clarification is this on?
Yeah.
The question of whether or not a county fire fee continues after a potential city first due fire fee is entirely in the hands of the county commission. The city council has no influence or control over that question. So that question is frankly best directed to the commissioners, to the county commissioners, and not to the city council. The city council has no control over the county's fire fee.
Every other county department will lose money then?
I don't know that that's the case. If the commission continues the current fee. In fact, if the commission continues the current fee, you can argue that the other departments in the county would increase proportionally. Again, this is a question for the county commission.
But right now it's up in the air whether we lose money or not.
It is not within the city council's jurisdiction to decide that question.
Yeah, I don't think you answered my question. If
I can't answer your question because the city doesn't have any control. I don't know what the county commission would do.
what does it cost? Tell people what it costs. How much more revenue will you have
The only thing I had was residential, I don't know what, so.
But your first due area, if you do the first due area, you can't say one way or another whether we're still going to get the rest of the fire fee then, right?
Well, I mean, that'd be a commission, if they're,
Wouldn't you be double dipping off of those residents though, if we do that? Is that correct?
So it's a unique situation here, again, because in other communities where this has been done, with the exception of Lewis County, there has been no existing county fire fee for the residents of Harrison and Randolph County prior to each city of Bridgeport and the city of Elkins implementing theirs. Those fees came after. This county, as well as Lewis County, has an existing fee. I think, honestly, just from my vantage point, I, up until a couple of weeks ago, was of the impression, just take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying that this is correct. Asterisk. Excuse me. I was of the understanding that if the city of Buckhannon implemented the first due fire fee, the fire fee for the county residents within that first due, the $25 per se, would go away. That was what I was in my mind operating. So the city residents pay $90 a year for fire protection. Currently, the county residents pay $25, no matter if you're in the Selbyville district or Hodgesville district. But I was operating in my mind as though that $25 for the first due of the city of Buckhannon would go away. But in a conversation with Mr. Carrico, he reminded me that there is an ordinance that sets forth that the county has through the fire board that sets forth what the fee will be, and it doesn't discriminate as to what district you're in. It's whether you're the first house on Shawnee Drive out of city limits, or you're the last house in the county on the Selbyville 4-H Camp Road. You're still paying $25. It doesn't discriminate which district you're in. So I think that needs to be clarified for sure, because again, this is a little bit of a unique situation because there is an existing fire fee.
Yeah, and like I said, if you guys implement this and we don't keep it throughout the whole county, we're going to lose a lot of money as a fire department. A lot of our money. But, and then if you do it, it's good, or if they do it, we'll keep the same money or a little more money, because I guess Buckhannon will drop out of that, right? The county fire fee. We'll gain a little more money, but the residents will pay 2 fire fees instead of 1.
Right.
They'll be paying the county and the first due area.
Right.
Yeah. And what did you have there for a cost that it took to every firefighter year and training?
Oh, 120 to 135,000 per firefighter. That includes salary benefits.
What is just salary? Just salary and benefits?
So, I mean, you have an entry-level firefighter all the way up. So, entry-level firefighter for us would be in the $55,000 range.
So you're saying that everything else is another $80,000?
Well, I mean, yeah, because you've got benefits, you've got training, you've got turnout gear, you've got the extra insurance. I mean, so yeah, adding all that.
And we have the same thing as a county fire department, because we still got to have the workers' comp, and I mean, we don't have insurance on each one of our, health insurance, but we still have those same problems that everybody else has got. We don't get the money either. You know what I mean? That's my worst thing about this, is that the rest of the county loses money, and it's a big concern, because we don't have enough money now. I would rather see you all work towards educating the public and just up the fire fee straight across the board, and everybody would have more money to operate. And you can still hire that person. And we've been talking about that also.
I think there another point that would need clarified. I think, looking over there, I think county raised money, as of right now, cannot be used for salaries. Is that right?
county fire fee or state funds cannot be used for salaries.
There. So the monies that the outside corporate limits residents pay now, the $25, or if you're in a business, $50, that pool of money that goes to the fire board and then is evenly distributed, that cannot be currently under state code cannot be used to pay for firefighters.
And you wouldn't have to, because you could use that money for equipment and pay, you'd have a less cost as far as equipment and stuff, and you'd have more money to pay a salary also. Out of the city funds, is that correct?
Yes. I'm not sure I follow. Lisa, can you rephrase your question?
If you wanted to hire another firefighter, that's what this is all about, am I correct?
Right.
Okay. If we had a larger county fund, right, you don't have to say that you use this county money to hire this firefighter. You can say you use that county money to buy equipment and training and anything else. I mean, you can pay your electric bill or anything else with that money, but you wouldn't be spending as much on a salary. Do you understand
Okay,
what I'm
I see
trying
what
to
you're
say?
saying. So our city budget, our city fire budget, does not at all, doesn't contemplate the money raised by the county. So the county fire fee. We technically run 2 departments out of our Station 1. We don't have a charter for the City of Buckhannon Fire Department, but we've established a City of Buckhannon Fire Department with paid staff, paid trucks, a building, the whole 9 yards. We have a Buckhannon Volunteer Department charter that has 2 vehicles, 8 members, well, eight active members, I should say. I think there's more on the books, but 8 active members. And they are, so the money that goes from the 1/7 of the county fire fee that's raised, the $30,000 or so that everybody gets, goes to the volunteer department in Buckhannon, the volunteers. The city doesn't see that money. What they do though is they help with outfitting trucks, they help with making payments on turnout gear, they do help with some building upkeep, but this right here, the $1.2 million budget that the city has for fire, is all city business and all city residents. It's 100% city raised. So I know what you're saying. You're saying if you raise the fire fee, there's more money in the volunteer side. I don't know if it's enough to shake a stick at to offset the cost of
hiring somebody.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
If we would raise the fire fee though, and you educate the public, I'm sure that they would rather pay that than what they're going to be paying with just doing your first due. Especially if they got to pay 2 fire fees. If you raise the whole county, a certain level instead of just, you're kind of imposing it on them. You know what I mean? In my opinion, anyway. It looks to me like.
So Mark, I'm going to answer 2 questions. Cody, your question.
And I appreciate all you guys do, and I hope, I wish you
And I'm
the
glad
best.
you're asking these questions, but Cody, civil service for part-time hires is you can't do it. Because if somebody gets hired under civil service, they have to work the same amount of hours, the same as everybody else. That's what civil service does to you. But also, something we're forgetting is, this is the list of state funding that every volunteer fire department gets in this county, okay? In 2024, each volunteer fire department now is receiving $30,793 every quarter, times that by 4 now. That went from $14,000 in 23. So your income has went up $16,000 a quarter. The Buckhannon Volunteer Fire Department is at $19,000. So the Buckhannon Volunteer Fire Department gets niched because we have career staffing by $11,000 a quarter. That's $44,000 that our income is reduced. And it went from $8,000. We only got $8,000 every quarter last year. So we're already, because we have more responsibility, more calls, more equipment, we already get niched by the state, Mr. Buckhannon, because we have paid staff. So I'm just saying, we're getting cut, and we're asking to put bodies in seats that run out the door immediately, get on scene, and if you saw my Buckhannon's paper today, rescued 4 dogs, okay? We rescued people last year. Without those bodies in station, we would have different outcomes. And we're up here talking about money. There's nowhere in the state of West Virginia, there's 9 communities now, small cities that have first due fire fees. 5 of them getting ready to be in Harrison County. They have not shut down one volunteer fire department. Steve Himes, the chief of Elkins, said the best thing that happened to the volunteer fire service in Randolph County was the city of Elkins initiating a first due fire fee, because then it had to become, it was responsibility of the county commission to help those volunteer fire departments, and that's what the county commission in Randolph County did. And now they're receiving $75,000 a year, each department, the remaining 9 departments, from a county fire fee. So
That's up in the air.
for you.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's
You know,
exactly what I'm saying.
we get hurt because we have career staff. And that's a whole nother story, because the city of Bridgeport still receives the full funding of the volunteer fire department when we don't.
Yeah.
When they have 30 career staff, we only have 10.
And we need you. I 100%.
We need everybody, but I'm just saying, I spoke with Kevin the other day, and Kevin, I'm sorry, I did not realize, as the mayor said, I thought when the city initiated a first due fire fee, the county fire fee in that district went away. And I misspoke to you, I was uneducated on that, and I told him I'm wrong. I did not realize that. But in 2022, our ISO rating was rated on our city fires. We averaged 15 members from our department at each fire. And Thomasville, because of automatic aid, responded with 5. They gave us 20. In 2024, we're at 11 and 3. So we've lost 6 people in 2 years on average. So we're getting desperate.
We are.
So, you know, I mean,
But like you talking about the money and all this money that we're getting, but we just ordered 10 bottles because they're only good for so long. That's the bottles you wear on your back. That's what people don't understand when you're in the house or fighting fire. $10,000. You know, there's nothing cheap about what we do. Every piece of equipment is crazy.
$318,000 on air pack.
There you go. Yeah. But like I said, but we're all required, it don't matter whether you're paid or volunteer, you're still required to wear the same equipment when you go in that house.
But we do wear it out with.
Yes, because you use it way more than we do. But the only other thing that I was gonna say, the other guy said, you know, paid staff and volunteer firemen. The volunteers still have training. They're not just a bunch of guys out there running around driving the trucks and stuff. Everybody's gotta be trained. You know, it's all, and we voluntarily do what we do. They got more training than us. They got more time than they do. You know, they're paid to be there and train and do this stuff. We do it when we get a chance. That's pretty much all I got to say, because I think one of the things you should have done at the beginning of the meeting here, though, is explain what this first due area thing consists of for these people that don't understand.
Exactly.
As far as the geography,
Not only the geography of what you got in mind, as far as the money it's going to cost them, and you know, and all that. I think that should have been the very first thing you done, so people could understand what you're doing or what you're trying to do or what you're considering doing.
okay, sure, that's a good point. So, okay, thanks, Martin. So, we'll take a quick break from the guests real quick, and I'll go through this as best as I can. So, every fire department has what's called a first due area that they are sworn to protect. Paid, volunteer, it doesn't matter. Selbyville has a first due, Rock Cave has a first due, Hodgesville has a first due, and we have a first due. Ours extends outside of city limits, obviously. That's why we're here. Our city limits is all 100% within our first due, but our first due extends pretty much. So it's right here. Lowe's is right here. Okay. Our first due goes just about to like Pet Paradise on Route 20, if you know where that is, before you drop down the hill to Three Leg. And then you can't see it here because of the shade. Here's our city. There's Route 20. It goes up here and rides a run, Turkey Run, and it goes to the county line. This is Buckhannon Mountain. This is Route 33 West. All of this area is within our first due. It comes down here to the south, following, it's Lick Run-ish, if you know where Lick Run is, just past the high school, and it goes over to Route 20, just here past the high school at Light Chapel Road, okay? And then it comes, and it gets real jaggedy, it goes right around Hebner Grove Road, the Upper Childers Run Road area where it intersects with Ivy, right in here, that's where it becomes Tallmansville's district. Over here, this becomes Adrian's district, up there it becomes Hodgesville's district, and out here it becomes Ellamore's district. It keeps on going out here to just about like the Wagner Road area on Route 33, a little bit before that, and then it goes into Ellamore's district, and that's on the 4-lane. It takes in a lot of Keesling Mill, Keesling Ridge, and then it goes to, it's real jaggedy right through here, but Radaball Lane, Hathaway Drive, Handy Camp right through there, that's where it cuts out. So it's, our district is pretty much north, central, Upshur County, and west. And a lot of it follows the 4-lane. A couple of things that we have been talking about in utilizing if this fee were to be imposed. A couple of things. One, we have an area that's within our first due that is outside of the 5 road miles to the fire department. They do have hydrants, but they're outside of 5 road miles from a department. What that means is if you're not within 5 road miles of a fire department, your insurance, your property insurance is pretty high. That's Buckhannon Mountain. Excuse me, that's Buckhannon Mountain. We own property, we have our city street garage, we have our waste garage, we are constructing a training facility all out on Mudlick Road. You know where the transfer station is, just to the left of that before you turn up into the transfer station, that's our city street garage. We have the ability to put a substation there that would then take in Buckhannon Mountains area and put them within 5 road miles of a fire department, drastically lowering their ISO score on their insurance. The ISO score is a 1 to 10, so we are a 3. That is a really, really, really good score, and our departments worked so hard to get from a 5 to a 3. It's harder to get the further you get toward 1. There are very few 1s in the country. So the way the scale goes is it goes like this. You're at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it's a real sharp curve like that. And what it means is if you are a protection class 10 instead of protection class 3, on a typical $200,000 house replacement cost on your insurance policy, not saying what you could sell it for, what you would rebuild it for, that's a difference of about 80% of your homeowner's insurance premium that we would be saving the people on Buckhannon Mountain and the west side of our district in the county. That's one thing that we've talked about. The other side is we need people. When I became a city council member, Joey Baxa and I talked. We had at that time 20 volunteers at the City of Buckhannon Fire Department. We're down to 8. Volunteerism is drastically declining no matter where you go in the country. Large area, small areas just have fewer people to pull from. So we know that we need people. And so what we would propose is we currently have 3 firefighters on per shift. They're 24-hour shifts. They begin at 7 a.m. and they end at 7 a.m. So 3 go on, 3 go off. They work 24 hours, and then they're off for 48 hours, and they work 24 hours again. The same 3 work together on every shift. So what we would propose is to add a 4th per shift. That's 3 additional firefighters, 4 per shift to our ranks. Why that's critically important. There is code out there that says, and the firefighters in the room will understand this, but 2 in, 2 out. So you roll up to a structure fire. Technically, if you don't have 2 firefighters able to stay outside and 2 firefighters able to go inside, if you have 3, you really shouldn't enter the structure. That insurance would guard against that, as well as all of the fire standards would guard against that. So this gives us the ability to guarantee that we have 4 people on the first engine arriving to a structure fire. I'll tell you a quick story. In November of 2022, directly behind my house, I live on Camden Avenue, directly behind my house on Buckhannon Street, there was a fully involved structure fire within the city limits. That is very rare, but it happened the Sunday following Thanksgiving. It started underneath of the porch, and so it had been burning a while. By the time it popped up over the porch, it was an old wooden house, and it just took over. It went inside the house and started climbing through the void spaces up the stairs. A person had to be rescued out of that house. The fire took place right at shift change, about 6:45, 6:50 in the morning. The reason that's important is we had the new shift coming on and the old shift going off. So we had 6 people able to respond to that fire. Selena Lamb is alive today because we had 6 people able to be on the first engine to respond to that fire, and we were able to send people inside to be able to rescue her, because the call went out as fully involved structure fire with entrapment. So when I realized what was going on and I came out on my back deck, it felt like 100 degrees. It was burning that hot. Everybody in here knows, right back there, Joey was the one that pulled her out. So, but Joey wouldn't have been able to go in if we didn't have the staffing to be able to, to allow for Joey to go inside. We were lucky. We don't want to be lucky. We want to be able to say that when the 911 bell rings, we're confident that we can put forth a service that the community can trust, the community can stand on, and we know we can get somebody out if they need to be taken out. And again, we go back to how we started the meeting. That's what this is all about. We got to save life and property to the best of our ability. Yes, sir.
I don't know too much about the laws and regulations governing this. Sometimes we have to think out of the box in order to make it equitably for everyone, the city and the property owners. You just mentioned something about everyone benefits in the insurance costs. Okay, if you have greater access to a fire in case of emergency or any type of emergency. Has it been considered for the assessor's office, okay, to assess a certain portion of the real estate to each property owner? That money will be given to the county commission, whatever, that's assigned that responsibility. They can distribute that money equitably, okay? And you can still have your code in the city to take care of your wages and needs that you have. I think it's time we need to think outside of the box how to do this, okay? Now, fire fee is not necessarily always equal. Okay, that's something I mentioned years ago. We have a mobile home park. We paid a lot more than someone else, where the assessment, okay, may have been a lot higher. I think this would establish that kind of equity. Now, you mentioned by establishing a committee, I think that's a worthwhile thing to do. So they would have their budget, they would have the right staffing, and we would all be satisfied, okay? Not all of us are property owners, but the ones that have property owners, they should share in that responsibility in a great way. Okay, and I don't mind sharing, but it has to be done equitably, not arbitrarily based on a map, okay? That's going to create, you got people like Mark Howes, who volunteer and his people, talking about paying somebody $55,000 a year. I'm volunteering, okay, you're demoralizing. So that's something to think about.
Thank you. Okay, let's go. Yep. Okay. I think that's it.
You didn't answer my question.
What
Is
did-
that within the law where a certain property value, okay, a certain portion of that money could be allocated to our fire fund, call it whatever you want, instead of an arbitrary fire fee? I think that would create more income, okay, it would also be a better distribution of resources, instead of just taking care of the city.
Well, so the city has to operate within the parameters that are given within state code.
Okay, I
And state
understand.
code
Like I
is-
said, I'm not familiar with that. there's certain way, if you think out of the box, there's certain ways to do that. The issue came up, well, what's going to happen to the fire fee if you're arbitrarily going to come up with a fee? Okay, that's not right either.
Well, again, we have to operate within the parameters that we're given. I understand what you're saying. You know, are there ideas out there that could be a better way to skin the cat? Possibly. But that is, all the municipalities and the counties in the state are operating under what is currently given to us. Municipalities and counties can only do what state code allows us to do. Even if we have an out-of-the-box thought and it goes against what is strictly said in state code, we have to lobby legislators to change the
I
code.
understand that we have politicians here, but you can't arbitrarily come into my area and say, I'm going to assess you $100 per trailer because I need the money. That's wrong.
Well, it's not arbitrary.
It is arbitrary. I mean, if it's not within your confines, I'm not in safe limits.
But you're within our fire district, which we are required to cover a fire
In
district.
that case, then, the county commission comes into play. They have to, like she says, sort a committee where you can come up with an equitable solution. But I thought that's the whole idea behind this meeting, to try to come up with some ideas. You have an attorney there, he can look into that, see if it's doable. If it's not doable, it's fine.
Can I make a point?
Sure.
State Farm, the largest insurer in Upshur County, does not use ISOs anymore. They use ZIP codes.
There's still 11 companies locally that use ISO.
They switched that, what, a few years ago?
Yeah, State Farm is one of them that got away from it. They still use it as part of their data, but they go more off of the zip code mode than they do. But State Farm's one of the few.
Farmers, I spent 11 years in insurance, as you know, worked alongside your wife for all those 11 years, not with State Farm, but one of the companies that we worked with, Farmers and Mechanics, they went away from actually putting the ISO number on the policy deck sheet, but they went by geographical pinpoint, and so they still knew if you were or weren't within the certain radius of the fire department.
So at the end of the day, I mean, we're all here talking about money. It's my job as a fire chief to make sure people go out the door in the big red trucks, right? And to make sure they're well trained. Some of this money will complete our training facility, which is going to be open to county firefighters, smallers. We have a base of 9 instructors. Some of us work for WVU, myself and 6 others work for WVU to teach out here. And it's a resource that we're going to provide for our whole county because that's what we do. Just going back, it's about getting trained people out the door in a timely manner who are well trained. So when I look back at the history or the stats from the Upshur County, total Upshur County outside of the Buckhannon Fire Department, 70% of the call volume is being handled by 2 or less people. 70%. I want you to think about that. So the national standard for structure fires, NFPA 1720, which is a combination volunteer standard. In an area where we work, it's 15 people in 9 minutes. You know how long it takes us to get 15 people? The other night on Cleveland Avenue, we didn't make it. So we did not make, we had 11 from us and 3 from Thomasville. So we never even met the standard the whole 2 hours we was there. So these are standards that we're finding out. We're going through an accreditation process, and you learn more about response times. I met the 911 director was here earlier. He has to dispatch a 911 call within a certain amount of time. We have to respond within a certain amount of time. And I understand volunteers are out there, they can't do that. But we're trying to put people in seats, getting there in a timely manner and making a difference in people's lives. And we're sitting here talking about $25 and $90. That's what I want you to forget about. We're here to change lives. The 4 dogs that we saved the other day, the CPR saves that we're doing, the 17 CPR saves that we've made in the last 3 years. People are walking around today because of a timely response. And when you look into the articles about the data that's retrieved by the federal government on rescues, 3- and 4-person crews are making timely rescues where 2- and 1-person teams can't, okay? So how would it feel if you went to a fire with one person, which is what's happening right now, and I'll use a fire on the southern end of the county. Our effective response force to a commercial fire, first alarm, is 24 people, okay? And we are getting there in 32 minutes. It takes us 32 minutes to get 24 people on a commercial fire, okay? Same type of scenario in the southern end of the county, commercial fire. They had 15 people, 6 fire engines showed up with 1 person on it. That is not service. What are you going to do with that? So as a whole county, I mean, we're trying to make things different. Our department response is, if it's a structure fire, and right now we have 3 people on duty, no matter where it is, other than Shelbyville, that's the only place we're not automatic aid in this county, 2 of those immediately respond. If it's in our first due, all 3 of them go. If there's entrapment, all 3 of them go immediately. If we go to 4, so the county residents are going to get 3 firefighters, whether it's in Adrian or Hodgesville or Elmore, they're going to get 3 paid firefighters immediately out the door. The average response time of your volunteer fire department is between 10 and 11 minutes. Where can we drive from Buckhannon in 10 and 11 minutes in a fire engine with 3 people? I want you to think about it. We can go about 9 miles, okay, and show up with 3 people on a fire engine. Where traditionally, an average base data, they're showing up with 1. Yes, sir.
What has your trend been? Are you responding more? Have you had more cases? Do you have what compared to 10 years ago? The amount of calls that you respond to, has it gone up drastically, or is it kind of
So the last 3 years, due to the accreditation model, we review our responses. We consider, I mean, I can tell you, we used to do unlocks of cars, we used to do trees down. Those are not fire department responsibilities. We got rid of that stuff. So we're down to the basis of what a fire department does for a community. We do fire, all types of fires. We do car wrecks. We do medical in the city at this time. And I've already spoken to the director of EMS. If we do a first due, it's up to the EMS service outside the city limits, whether we do medical or not. They have to request that in writing so we get it approved. That's an additional 600 calls. So out in the county. So if we do that, if we do a first due, we're going to be responding to almost 1,800 calls a year. Okay? That's 1,800 incidents. Right now we're doing 1,200. Okay? So when you add up the rest of the county, they don't even match that. And we're handling that with 8 volunteers and 10 paid staff. So
you can understand as a county commissioner, we don't want to lose our role.
I totally understand. I totally understand it. But we've been discussing this for 11 years, and it just seems that we're at the point now something's got to give. You know, we have to add staffing because we're not getting any help coming in. We're sending help out, and you know, as county commissioners, you know, it's not ever been a priority to you all. To me, I've talked to you numerous times. There's nothing that says the county commission can't kick money in out of the general fund, but just like everybody else, you don't have any, right?
Right.
So there's nothing to say that we can't prioritize the fire service and the county commission say, okay, we're going to support these fire departments like Randolph County did. You know, there's nothing that says Lewis County Commission can't do that when Weston does theirs. It's become a larger responsibility, you know, and for us, you know, we're going everywhere in the county except for Shelbyville to fight fires. And we're glad to come and help because we send 6 to 8 people on a normal day to a fire in Rock Cave or Elmore or wherever it is. And you get there and they're shorthanded, or we get there during the day and there's nobody comes. So, yes, sir.
So did your all's area expand
So
since you have had higher paid staff? Is your area bigger nowadays than what it used to be?
So in 2022,
I'm talking about 10 years ago. Let's take just for an instance. Is the Buckhannon area that you all service, that you call your first due,
okay,
is it bigger now than what it was 10 years ago?
a little bit.
Is that due to having paid staff?
No,
Then how
that's
did
due to data.
Okay, so what's the data read? That's what I was asking.
The data, and I'll explain this to you real quick. Give you an example. When you turn out Pringle Tree Road, you know where that's at? Just past Lowe's. that used to be Warren District's district. They were within a mile of the Buckhannon Fire Department, 5 miles from Warren District. So when we collected data, we proved that 90th percentile, which is a given, we responded there more timely with more people, and that area became ours. There's only 3 ways you can change a district. Either 2 chiefs agree and sign on it, 2 chiefs disagree, and the fire marshal gets involved and they collect data, and they go off the data, or a fire department goes out of business. And that's the only way a district can change.
So when that occurred, did Warren District lose money?
No.
Okay, that's the kind of things that the public looked at.
No.
Everybody's talking about money, what fire departments lose or what they gain.
So
or
what
whatever.
happens is, so those areas that are hydrated with hydrants went from a class 5 or 6 to a class 3. They saved money, the houses did, but nothing changed as far as fire service fees at that point. None.
JB, real
Yes,
quick. So to your point, sir, so each fire district does not pay solely for their fire department. Like Selbyville's first due does not only pay for Selbyville. Yeah, so all $25 from no matter where you
You
live.
do
So
understand
like,
how the county fire fee's set up.
Yeah, I understand how taxation works, how all fees work, and everything, even lots of things. The point of it is, when people look at double dipping inside of it, that's been the question that lots of people are here from. If the $25 fire fee plus these extra 3,300 people had to pay another $90, that looks like double dipping. Secondly,
That would be up to the county commission.
I understand you all are, a second. So I'm not causing an argument, I'm just saying, I understand you all are saying that's the county commission's choice at that point.
That's their choice.
But also somewhat you all are expanding beyond your city limits. I understand your service beyond your city limits. That's the diligence of
Do you
the
live in
duty.
First Due?
Huh?
Do you live in First Due?
I have stuff in first.
Okay, so you pay a city water bill, correct?
Yes,
And it's the same scenario with that. The city sets that base, even though you're out the city limits,
I know.
they set the water bill.
We can petition that. Through PSC, I can petition bills through PSC.
But usually they get approval for that raise.
Yes.
So-
Well, they have emergency rate.
So the county fire fee collected is roughly around $250,000, $260,000.
Yes.
Over 50% of that comes out of our first due and is dispersed to the other fire departments.
Well, with the 3,300 members and $90, just that is 300,000.
Yes.
Okay, more, 300,000 more from that area.
And what we're
Plus,
looking
the
at,
commercial would be another 150 to 190,000.
and my budget's 1.25 million.
Yeah.
That's what my budget is this year.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, so you're talking about adding 30-some% to it.
No,
So 1.2 million plus 400,000.
that's up to them.
Well, so
When they receive the money, it's dispersed on
so now we're talking about a due coming in and not going straight to.
so anything for fire fee has to go to the fire department.
Okay, so you just said fire due.
So fire dues, so your county fire fee, say you do it and it comes up to 500,000.
Yeah.
The city collection is 500,000.
Yeah.
So that's $1 million. Where do I get the other 250,000?
So the city's going to reduce theirs because they gain more from the people?
They have to come up with the other 250,000.
But you already said it's 1.2.
1.25 is what I said.
Okay, so if you add 500,000 to it, then we have 1.7.
You don't understand. The county fire fee does not come to the city of Buckhannon.
No, I said county. I said if you add the 3,300 customers, okay, it adds 300,000 for just them customers.
Get back to that.
Adds 300,000 for them customers, not including the commercial. So that's 300,000 more for the first due, just
Right.
for 3,300 customers.
yes.
Okay, plus the commercial would be another 150,000 approximately by square footage.
Well, we don't know that yet. I mean, that's.
I understand that.
And the city doesn't have a square footage model for fire. The city uses the same as it uses its B&O, business and occupation tax, which is on gross receipts.
So then, so gross receipts makes it even worse sometimes for businesses, because you can be really tiny and have a really good gross receipts.
Or
So
you
for
could
a
be,
fire due, that could be way worse.
it shakes itself out because you could also be like, not to pick on them, but Trust Joyce, which is 1 million square feet under roof.
Yep.
So,
That's why they have their own suppressing system, that's why they have a whole bunch of their own stuff too.
Right.
They help out with their situations. That's why there's other codes in fire industry for that stuff. So my question of it is if you're talking about adding this much money, does it go directly to the fire department?
absolutely. A fee raised from fire has has to go to fire.
And is the city going to change their $1.2 million budget already for fire?
Well, yes, absolutely, because those adding new people, adding a substation is going, it's not gonna come from within that 1.2 million.
So I'm making sure we're not taking money away, because lots of times when money's gained, there's money from other sides that's taken away, and it's subsidized between the fees.
Now, if it's a fire fee, it has to get a fire.
So when you pay your police fee, if you're inside the city limits, your police fee goes straight to police.
Yep.
Anybody in here who has a city utility bill, your water only goes to water. That is the law. It cannot go anywhere else. Your sewer only goes to sewer. It cannot go anywhere else. Trash goes to trash. It cannot go anywhere else. State code is very clear and says that you cannot raise a fee for a service and then not use it to put it toward that service, whether for maintenance of it or to further that service.
So is that why it's called a bill and not a fee?
Well, it's first due, just as in like you're the first due department to respond.
Definition-wise, in government, always makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
And that's my point. They come up with it so it can be used for other things possible. Because you have to look at the definition and the code at that.
But again, the fee raised on fire will go, we have to. I mean, the fee has to go to fire.
You're missing the point. It's called a due, not a fee.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Due does not refer to the money. Due refers to the obligation of the department to respond. It's not a due.
Okay, I see what he's saying. It's not money due, it's a first due fire fee, or fire district.
As long as the code doesn't say that it's a due.
Yeah, it's a fee. It's not, the first due only means, we're talking about the implementation of the service when you're talking about a due, not money owed to us as in money's due.
So as a populace outside of the city, how do we have any regresses if y'all decide to do it?
We don't.
City council has, statewide, no matter where you are, city councils across the state have the ability to implement the fee for the first due that they are sworn to protect.
So they can implement a fee on outside of people that have no representation.
Correct.
That's what we're sure.
Right.
That's a problem. And everybody in the county should know that's a problem. And the people that live in your own city council should know it's a problem.
It's called taxation without representation. We fought a war over that.
Can I speak to that? The state Supreme Court on 2 separate occasions in the last 10 years has ruled exactly on this question. The city of Buckhannon, through its fire department, is legally obligated to provide fire service outside of the city limits within the first due area. It is required to, as a matter of law. The state legislature acknowledges that and allows the city to charge a fee to the users of the service to compensate the city and the citizens of the city, who are the taxpayers of the city, to defray the costs of that expense. Just like water and other utilities that are set and provided outside of city limits. It is not a tax. It is a fee, and it is a fee for a specific service, and according to the state Supreme Court, which ruled in a case involving the city of Bridgeport and the city of Elkins more recently in 2020, that the city can impose a fee for the use of a municipal service, and that includes fire service.
So like water, is it managed by the PSC? Is it regulated by
The
PSC?
water rates are not, municipal water rates are not managed by the PSC any
No, but
longer.
so the legislation is a set rate that can go up or down.
Not any longer. That changed back several years ago.
So that's a problem too, if that needs to be relooked at.
We've been talking a lot about code and everything lately, so I wanted to kind of chime back in and make sure. The city is not doing anything, I will defend you all, maybe you don't like it, but they are working within the confines of the law. In 8.13.13, what they are instituting is a user fee, and it lists several fees down through there that they have the ability to do. I personally believe that those Supreme Court cases that you mentioned were not completely correct. I would challenge them in part. And the part that I challenge is in those instances, there was not a county fee being collected. So there was a service being offered and no one was collecting any type of fee in Bridgeport and Elkins. And where you now have in Lewis County and in Upshur County, there was already a fee being collected. There is confusion around that, and that confusion has already been shown here tonight. We said, you made the assumption that the county fee would go away. We've talked to other people and the county fee's going to stay. I believe that's why we need to kind of slow down here. Because I will 100% agree that we have to do something. We've got a problem. And I'm not chipping away at the volunteer units that, we just don't have the volunteers anymore. That's a societal problem. That's not a knock on any of the volunteer units. So we do have to do something. But what does it look like? Is it single-handedly a city that is supposed to work within the confines of a boundary that's been established to start coming outside of that with no input whatsoever? I think that is the issue at hand here, is there's confusion around if the county's going to continue to do theirs, that no one knows. I also want to offer this, that when we talk about state code, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm willing to listen. I publicly put out my phone number and email address. And if there's a problem that your funding isn't being adequately supplied, please call me. Let's work on it. Let's work together to solve a county problem, a city problem, and a statewide problem. But we've got to do that together. And so, again, we have to do something. Fully agree with that. But let's work together to do it.
We do appreciate you being here. And I can say, just from personal experience, I do a lot of work in Charleston from my position as mayor, and there was a bill that was working its way through the legislature a couple of years ago that could have been pretty detrimental to our community, and I reached out to Delegate Buckhannon, and I reached out to a lot of legislators, and I didn't hear back from anyone, and I heard back from you, and you know, although I don't know that we were on the same side of it, you know, it worked itself out, but I appreciate it. I mean, he is absolutely correct. I mean, if you reach out to him, he will get back to you. So thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate it. Tavon?
JB, can you give us a breakdown of how many EMS calls you've answered from here to the first of the year? Just EMS calls within the city.
I can tell you annually, it's about 55 a month.
55 a month. How many do you do outside the county?
Whenever we're requested. And there you go again, as I spoke to you, I talked to Director Burr, who's the director of Upshur County EMS. She has to request in writing that we respond outside the city for normal calls.
So how many fires can you answer? Inside the city?
Inside the city, probably 12 to 14.
How many do outside?
30 to 40.
Is that breakdown?
I'm just guessing, I don't have my
Is that a
data.
breakdown between first two areas?
Oh, I can, if somebody has their paperwork I provided for council here, I can tell you.
Breakdown.
I can tell you 5 times this year we responded to Adrian because of, no. There's in the,
And that's requested, right?
no, automatic.
Automatic. 4 departments, right?
I sent you an email. It's in the desk.
First two scratches, second.
Let me look through my stuff here. I don't have those, well, here you go. Maybe I have it.
EMS calls them on scratch, right? Or is it scratch?
Tavon, could you come to the podium?
So fire department's not responsible for EMS calls to begin with. That is Upshur County EMS. You know, and I don't want to get in that mix because we have 13 providers. We're a licensed rapid response unit. There's only 2 other departments in the county that have that. Fire departments, if you're not trained for medical, I don't understand the need to respond to it. I think that's a burnout for some of your volunteer firemen.
Well, isn't that the OEM question? We had the OEM director of the state online with us, and he said, go ahead and respond.
For what you're trained to do,
What you're trained
which
to
is
do.
first aid and CPR.
CPR.
And that's it, not diabetic emergencies, not shortness of breath. I'm not here to,
Yeah.
but
I'm not either.
the majority, if Adrian responds to 300 calls a year, what's the percentage of your EMS calls?
Shoot, it's way up there.
What is it?
I don't
I
know.
can tell you ours is 46%.
Yeah. I'd say almost ours,
I'm
probably
going
about
back for you all day long.
55%.
I'd say yours is 90%.
Yeah,
Okay, last year,
it's high.
first due,
Phenomenal.
so, let me find it. Let's see. Mutual aid to Adrian last year, 19 times. Mutual aid to Banks District last year, 8 times. I'm sorry, it's 23. This is the whole year, 23. Mutual aid to Billington once. We ran a total of 706 calls in the city limits. Mutual aid to Elmore 16 times. First due area, which is what we're talking about tonight, we responded to 285 incidents. Mutual aid to Philippi 5 times. Mutual aid to Sylvanville once. Mutual aid to Warren District 37 times. Mutual aid to Washington District 25 times. And mutual aid to Weston 19 times.
You have to tell me how many times did you cancel your route?
Does that matter?
Yes, it does.
How many times you get? How many times do you scratch?
Twice today.
I mean, how many times do you scratch?
Hey, if I could interject.
Yeah, I have it right here.
And I mean, is it available for the
Yeah,
public?
I'll print it off for you.
And I mean, relatively.
I'm not getting in an argument about it.
Okay,
You're trying to. I mean, I got it all right here.
Just for someone's call.
I'm personally saying, I have nerve deafness, I have hearing loss, and I know you don't like to use microphone, I get it. But if you could come up closer so I can hear, I'd appreciate it.
I just want to talk to everybody in here. We're talking about this, the fire fee for everybody. How many people in here realize you got insurance for $25 a year? I mean, really, you think about it, that's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever get. If it doubled or tripled, it would answer everybody's problem. The only problem is getting the public educated to where they'll pay it. And that's just what it is in a nutshell, in my opinion.
So the difference between insurance and a fee is the fee, all you are doing is responding to an incident. Insurance pays for the property that's lost. The fee doesn't. So you're not 100% true what you're telling the public.
Yeah, in a way I am, because if you have, or your wife, or your kid has a car wreck out here, who do you want to be there?
So whoever responds.
That's exactly, you want them there. And it ain't worth it to you. You say, well, I've been 10 years, I haven't used the fire department. I understand that, but you don't know when you're gonna need the fire department. And it's always there for everybody.
What about if you have more than
They're
one?
not all.
Then you can have more than one. It ain't like we don't charge you every time, you know what I'm saying? But, I don't know, it just seems to me that countywide fire, just let's get it to where we can raise the countywide. And it'll help all of the fire departments, not just Buckhannon.
And I know that, Mark. We had the same discussion when we was at city council in 2020.
I know.
You were there.
And I know.
Everybody-
And I've said the same thing every time I get
Here we
out.
are almost 5 years later, and nothing has changed, other than we got
But
less
now it
people.
is changing because I think we do have it in the works now at least, to raise this fire fee for everybody. If we could just educate the public on passing it.
Honestly, no, it's not right now. We went out to the 10% of the, Upshur County Firemen's Association, 10% of the vote. We still can. That doesn't stop us from doing that. But then we implemented it saying, hey, Bill 872, Senate Bill 872 come out. I'm sure you know about it. And allowed us to put that on the ballot to be voted on.
Right. Educate the public.
Educated the public.
That's what you gotta do, educate the
And
public.
so it went before the fire board.
The commission requested the financials of every fire department.
That's correct.
Received 2 today,
You received 2 out of the 7.
out of the 7. I think that went to 7 departments. Yes, sir.
I just got
And
it.
that's been a while.
But as right now, no, Mark, because we're 90 days
It's
out.
not in the works, we're not talking about it?
Well, we're still talking about it. It's not, the 90 days is out.
At least we're talking about it now. We mentioned it before, and that's as far as it got. I mean, it
We've
never
been
went
talking about it for
anywhere.
2 or 3 years, so,
Yeah.
trying to get this done, but we just can't get it done.
It never left our meeting before, though it has now.
Yeah.
So at least we're stepping forward. And I know the city makes more money now than we've ever had, but you shouldn't bear the responsibility for, 3/4 of the county. I understand that. That's just common sense, but it just seems to me that the way to go about this is every I know every fire department can use more money to buy better equipment and more training as far as that goes. Not just Buckhannon, the whole county needs the same thing, in my opinion.
And I'll bring this point to you too. This, Mark,
Go ahead.
I'll bring this point to you. It takes the county and the city working together to bring us together right now.
Yeah, they need us
I mean,
too. I mean, we need them.
too. You know?
Yeah, but they need us also. When they have a structure fire, they're praying that we get as many people out as we can, I'm sure. It's just the way it works. I mean, because they can't have 15, they can't hire 15 guys a shift. There's no way to meet the standard. Can't do it.
I mean, but we're trying.
I know. Like I said, 4 is better than 3. I understand that.
Thanks, Mark. Out of respect for everyone's time, it is 8:23. I'd like to give the opportunity to the members of City Council who are up here on the table this evening to kind of share their thoughts as well. I'm going to give this microphone down this side. I'm going to grab that microphone but we'll start over here with Council Lady Buckhannon.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that did come out this evening. I appreciate all your thoughts, and it's opened my eyes about a few things too. But I agree, we do need to get together with the county commission because we do have a problem, and we need to come up with something that will be fair to everyone. And I think we need to do that as soon as possible.
I echo Pam's remarks about wishing you all the best. I'm glad you could all be here this evening. There's an old saying, and you know how the old saying ends. The old saying is, money doesn't make the world go round, but it sure greases the wheels, right? Just some, I don't know if you all are aware of what things cost. The residents of the city of Buckhannon for a 14-year period from 2005 to 19 paid $3 a month to establish the public safety complex that about 3/4 of it is used by the fire department and 1/4 is used for the police department. That's where we house all of the trucks that respond to all of the calls within the 1st district and beyond. The total cost of that public safety complex was $2.5 million. There wasn't any participation from the county commission, wasn't any participation from people outside the city limits. Only the people within the city paid that fee for 14 years. We're talking about ladder trucks. We bought a used ladder truck a few years ago, and it cost $500,000 for a used truck. J.P. Kimball will tell you that if you bought a new truck, a new ladder truck today, similar to what we have, the used one, is $2.4 million. You heard what it's going to cost if we hire 3 new firefighters, over $300,000. We're not making these numbers up, folks. We're basing these upon what our experience has been. To maintain a professional, first-rate fire department is a lot of money. And we can't continue to have overwhelmingly just the city residents, the 6,000 of us, paying the freight. It's a model that is destined to break at some point. That's the reason that we're considering the first due fee. So again, thanks everybody for coming out.
Mr. Thomas.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. When I ran for city council 20 years ago, I believed in 2 very important things as an individual that will be working in the government area. Transparency is very critical for us to have, and I appreciate everybody here this evening, and this is a real good step in transparency. And one other issue I really believe in very firmly is a level playing field. I don't believe in double dipping at all, but if we do initiate the first due fee, my recommendation to the county commission would be to eliminate the $25 per year that's charged to the first due people, period. I would volunteer to be on a committee or task force or whatever to look at this further. But to not have the individuals who get the same response if they have living in the first due area, getting the Buckhannon Fire Department responding to them first due initially, they should be paying the same fee as the people living within the city limits. But we can work on this together, and I appreciate all of you being here this evening and sharing your concerns and ideas. Thank you.
Again, to echo everyone's sentiments, thank you everyone for coming. It shows the interest and actually the importance of what we're talking about, that many people showed up, this many people showed up. I agree with David that transparency is the most important issue with anything, especially when you're about to raise a fee or talking about raising a fee. I've been approached by many people in the public the last few weeks, phone calls, 3 today, everyone is kind of anxious over. A lot of people don't understand. There's not a lot of clarity into what's happening. And I think, again, this is a great first step, but in order for us to do this, we need to get information out so that we know exactly what the fees are going towards. If there's going to be a double dipping, not a double dipping, which I don't agree. I agree with Dave that it shouldn't be. I have interests in both in the city and out of the city, and I just want to make sure that when, God forbid, something happens and I'm out of the city, that someone comes and puts my fire out. That's the bottom line, so I don't lose my business. So if you're asking me, should fees increase, I'll do what it would take to ensure that my buildings and stay intact and my business stays intact. But I do think we need to keep working just to figure out, as you said, with the public not knowing what the fees are for, why they're being raised, and whatnot, and what the expenses the city incurs right now, which is the biggest issue. And the fact that when they're called out, they're leaving the city naked, so to speak. There has to be coverage for everyone in the county, whether it's city or outside of the city, and that's what this is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And all the other fellow council members said, again, thank you for being here this evening. I do agree, that it needed to be transparent. I'm glad the mayor was able to provide an overview of what the funds would be utilized for moving forward. As part of city council and as a city recorder, I have an opportunity to study data. Not everybody respects data. Not everybody cares about data. But throughout my whole life, my career, I've had to depend on what happened this time last year, what happened this time 10 years ago. I know things change, so I constantly look at data. And we are looking at data, and we have a lot of challenges in the city. We have a lot of infrastructure that is very, very old and has to be attended to so that no matter whether it's a citizen from out in the county or a citizen in the city, when you turn a water faucet on, you want water. And when you flush, you want it to flush. And you want your garbage picked up, and you want it disposed of properly. And that's what we're doing. And you want good sidewalks to walk on. You want good streets to drive on. All of these things, are things that we constantly look at. And police protection and fire protection are paramount. They're absolutely paramount. I've seen the EMS folks in action, with episodes where folks have gone down. I've been one of those people, where an EMS group had to respond when I had a fall, broke 5 ribs, dislocated a shoulder, I collapsed a lung. And I really needed professional help at that point. I couldn't speak. I've lost my voice because of the collapsed lung. So when I looked up and saw an EMS crew there, and these are folks who, they weren't concerned about my ethnicity, they weren't concerned about my gender, they weren't concerned about me being bald, or me having had a full hair. They had a job to do, and they came in as professionals, they did it. They got me stabilized, they got me into an ambulance, they got me to a hospital so that I could start to recuperate. Thank God they were there. I wasn't negotiating with them. I didn't stop and say, look, I didn't pay a fee. Maybe you shouldn't take care of me. I didn't even live, I was in another state when this happened. I was in Virginia when this happened. So we need to continually improve day in and day out about our professional services so that when somebody goes down, somebody's there immediately to lift them back up and to take care of them. When a house catches on fire, somebody's immediately there to respond, to save what can be saved. First and foremost, life. That's the paramount thing we're talking about. Businesses, buildings, they can be rebuilt.
good, you know? But life, that's what we're talking about. And we push our employees, we push the guys and the ladies that work down at the fire department to train, to get better, to get better, get better. We read the data. How fast did you respond this year compared to last year? Are you getting better? And to what Christy said, she's exactly right, Commissioner Cheney. We've talked about it, and I apologize. I thought some of the things we had talked about, you know, to give more time for the volunteer work to continue to flourish, to try to build on the volunteerism. I know you personally, and as the commissioner, work very hard on recruiting efforts to get more volunteers. It's just not there. I think for us to be naive to think that our younger generation is going to grow up and say, I'm 18, I'm healthy, I'm going to dedicate the next 25 years of my life to stay here and be a volunteer, is naive. I don't think anyone would ask that of our children. You know, make a commitment to your community. Don't go off and become successful in your career. Stay here, work locally so you can build the fire departments or build the response teams or build the volunteer things. You know, we want you to consider those things when making your life choices. A lot of you have children in that age range. You're not going to ask them to do that. You're not going to say, stay here, build up these volunteer organizations. So we have to start looking at professional services so that we can continue to live our lives feeling like we're safe, that we're going to have a response when necessary. You fall down, somebody's going to lift you up and get you to where you need to be so that you can recuperate properly and live a full life again. I mean, I'm compassionate when possible, but I'm practical when necessary. And being practical is what we have to do. We have to be practical. We can't wish this into another thing of, well, we wish there's going to be 20 people volunteer next year. 15 will volunteer. If we just wait, those volunteers are going to be there. You know, I mean, we are in a situation where we have to make things happen to keep people safe. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's deep down in my heart. That's where I'm coming from, to make decisions so that every individual can go to sleep and know that we have protection out there. Wake up, we have protection. Fall down, we have protection. We have somebody there that's professional. You don't want me running in your house. I'm 280 pounds, out of shape, 66 years of age. I'd gladly volunteer, but you certainly don't want me coming in there. And you don't want to look up at me and go, that's it? That's what I'm depending on? You know, we need those professionals to train, and be ready to go. So thank you. Talk to me individually if you want to. Give me your thoughts about it. And we'll work together. And to the commissioners, absolutely. You've got more things to talk about. I'll listen. Come down. We'll talk. We'll have those meetings. Absolutely. So thank you. And God bless everyone. Godspeed on your way home tonight.
Sam?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was letting her.
Take two.
I appreciate everyone coming out tonight and showing their support and curiosity and asking some really great questions. To Rob's point and a lot of other folks, I've had a lot of phone calls and questions, and so I just think I just throw that to ask a few of these that have been asked of me, and I did not have the answer. First question was, how much the new fee that went into place on July 1, how much is that generating of new revenue at this point? Or what's the expected?
The expected is between $400,000 and $500,000 annually.
And that's on that's everyone that has a utility bill, correct?
Within the city limits, yes.
Okay, so then the next, just kind of elaborate on that a little bit, because residents and commercial are two very different things.
That's police and fire, I should know, because we went from $36 to $90 in fire. We went from, what was it, $15, $16 in police to, no, we went from 24 in police to 60 in police. So our total public safety fee within the corporate limits is $150 annually. That covers fire and police.
And that's going to your general revenue, correct?
That's going to general fund because police and fire come out of general fund. So each goes to each within general fund.
So just to make a couple corrections, because you guys kept saying that your annual budget, unless you've already had a budget revision, is not 1.2. It's actually 1.352 according to the state auditor's website, just because I jumped on there today and printed off the budgets.
Yes, but the budget that we approved prior to, because this took effect. So yes, the budget revision is
1.352.
correct for fire.
Yes. Earlier it was at 1.250.
1.25 is what was voted on for the annual budget exercise.
Okay. So just going back, I know everybody's probably itching to get out of here, but I'm kind of a numbers guy, and I've been following this, been commissioner for several years now, and fire has been definitely a hot topic since day one. Back in 17-18, which would have been considered fiscal year 18, the fire budget for the city was $705,000. Today it is 1.352. So you're looking at almost a 100% increase in fire. Police budget, same thing. I mean, for safety, and I'm just trying to give you just a comparison to, because all this kind of dates back. The reason why I'm bringing up the year 2018, because that's when you all were coming and presenting for the sales tax. Callie Sams was in charge of your PR at the time, and the things that were being sold by the city on the sales tax. And I will say, the sales tax is not paid just by city residents. It is, the majority of the 1% sales tax is actually paid by the county residents. There's roughly 5,000 plus people in the city, and there's 24,000 plus people in the county. So I'm not trying to split hairs. I'm just saying.
But it's also region 2. It's Elkins, Weston, Philippi,
I
Clarksburg.
understand that percentage is much less. Much less. The majority of the sales tax is paid by the county residents. I think that's a fair and accurate statement. So with that being said, initially with the sales tax, I mean, I think the numbers that were being thrown out there were about $750,000 in revenue, roughly. That was the estimate. It went up to roughly $1 million. This year, I think you're estimating that you're going to bring in $2.1 million. Now, that number was zero, okay? That number was zero in 2018. Now you're talking an additional $2.1 million in additional revenue. And that revenue, which was not city revenue at the time. The city has not lost any other revenue. Your B&O tax has actually went up over the years. It's like $1.4 million this year. But the sales tax was lobbied by council. Not everybody was on council at the time, okay? But was lobbied for number one, public safety, fire and police. That was number one, fire and police. $2.1 million. Second, infrastructure, okay? Third, parks and recreation, which I think all of those are very important, and I appreciate. I'm like Rob, I own property both in the city and the county, and city looks great. I mean, it does. I know road repairs, hard winters that can wreak havoc. I tip my hat to the Buckhannon City Fire Department, because I do think they do a terrific job. I mean, they do their accreditation process. I know that sometimes unless you really understand it, it is making for a better fire department. It's making for better service. The outcomes are better, ultimately, with the accreditation. But it does hold that, Buckhannon City paid fire department to a much higher standard. But my point goes back to the sales tax. Okay, the sales tax is already, everyone in this room is paying that sales tax at some point. Okay, so we are making our contribution to the city. We are. I mean, and just to go back to the double dipping, this was the first time tonight, me as a commissioner, I just assumed if you all implemented your first due, the fire fee went away. So the commission never had any intention on double dipping. Just to clarify that to everyone, okay? I mean, everybody kept saying, you need to talk to your commissioners. Well, the commissioners didn't even think that that was even possible, nor will we do that to anyone.
Nor did the city intend to double dip.
Yeah, I know, Dave.
Let's you and I get in debate someday, how about it?
Let it, Dave, let it finish.
I'm sorry, get your point across.
Hey, show a little respect for the county commissioner, please.
No.
No?
No.
Why? Why no?
Dave, stop.
Dave, I'm just pointing out. Dave.
That's our representative. That is our representative.
That's great.
And that's why we're here tonight.
I've known Sam for years. I like
That's part of
Sam.
fine. Don't bring private stuff to the meeting.
Let's just let
This is supposed to be a public hearing.
And so a lot of the statements that I've made tonight, Dave, are not just of my opinion. These are the questions that have been asked of me by citizens. That's why I'm asking the question. And I just went back and did the research.
Let me make one comment.
Yes.
You said that the county residents are paying a lot of sales tax. I agree with that 100%, but so is Wesleyan students. They're doing the same thing also. So you have to take a look at it you have to deep dive on this.
And Dave, trust me, there's a lot of Buckhannon residents that go to Wesleyan and attend Wesleyan, just like my own children. So they are actually from Upshur County. And you're talking about only 1,000 people versus another 19,000 people in the county. Okay, but I agree with you, and I agree with what Robbie said. Other people come to Lowe's from Elkins. I mean, there's not a Lowe's in Elkins, so we do reap the benefit from other counties, and I think that's great. I think it benefits us all. I'm not here to try to split hairs. I'm just trying to point out the fact that there has been revenue put in place to handle these things. And in the budget, like I stated, in 18, went from 705 to 1.3. And granted, we've hired more firemen since that, and for some reason I'm thinking it was about $300,000 at the time, is what the estimated cost was for 3 firemen, as far as salaries and wages and whatnot. And of course, then you're going to have inflation from that point forward, so it's probably going to increase. But I'm just trying to just point out the things that's being asked, and since we are in a public meeting, and hopefully we'll have future conversations to discuss this further, but I just want to make sure that, that point, Rob's new to council, okay, and other folks weren't here in 2018 on council to realize that that is what was the bill of sale sold to us as a community. And I don't have, I own a pizza shop outside of city limits, and I still contribute to the 1% sales tax for the city for when I deliver food to city residents. Okay, so I try to make sure I keep up with it all, because I understand that that's my responsibility as a business person. Okay, if someone does contractor work inside the city limits, they're supposed to be charging 1%. I mean, everyone's making this contribution to pay for these services right here, because the $2.1 million was not here in 2018, was it? It was not. Now, your total budget in 2018 was $4.4 million. So to add 2.1 to that, how many years ago? I mean, that's not that long ago. That's a substantial amount of money.
Implemented for 1/1 of 2020 was the sales tax.
1/1 of 2020. The fiscal year 2020, your revenue was $5.3 million. 21 went to 7.9. Okay, so it's not a lack of funding, and I know some of that money is pass-through money. Okay, you and I know what that is. You all might have had some grants going on, so that revenue might be inflated due if you had a big grant at the time. But these are just some of the questions that have been asked. Other thing, agree with the volunteers, Randy. We've been talking about this for years. We've tried. Commissioner Tenney especially has worked with, JB and other volunteer fire departments throughout the county, trying to promote and try to get people out. But the one thing we can't lose, these volunteer fire departments out in the county, especially, you get up in Selbyville, Tomlinsville, they can't go away. Those are locations that need to have these volunteer fire departments in place, because, it's just remote. It's going to take too long to get there. So we just need to be thoughtful going forward on how we handle this. Just in our conversations, we just need to make sure. Now, I will say, JB brought up some good points about, the state has stepped up, and the volunteer departments, I think, are getting a few more dollars from the state at this time. Now, whether that continues, we don't know, because that can change from year to year. And really, you know, when you think about the entire fire fee that is collected, you know, through the fire fee board, it's only several hundred thousand, maybe a couple $100,000 a year, which is not even gonna, I mean, like, I'm not even sure if the fire fee would cover the 3-paid fire, or 4-paid additional fire coach, or 3. Okay, I mean, so the fire fee that the county residents are currently paying, it's not a huge hardship. I mean, $25 a year is like a little over $2 a month, which is not that much, but it does mean the world financially to the volunteer fire departments. So I just want to keep that in the back of everyone's mind. But just going back to the sales tax thing, I brought it up before. I mean, Randy and I have had many conversations. Robbie, you and I have as well. It's real. People are paying it, and it needs to be, you know, thought about, because that is what was sold to us through the process in 2018. Thank you.
Yes, but then I'd like to wrap it up.
Very quickly, now I know the mayor wants to wrap it up, but Sam and I have had several great discussions about it. And again, since I became city reporter and I've done some deep dives, I work very closely with Mayor Skinner. I basically work a full-time job with the city, even though what I do is part-time. I make $15,000 a year as city reporter. But I'm retired from my other career, so I'm able to do this, and it's more of a passion for me as well. So Commissioner Gold is correct, and I have gone back and double-checked. We have invested that 1% sales tax in the public safety. We have a CALEA certified police department. You see police officers in there tonight. We have some of the finest police officers in the state of West Virginia. You know, CALEA, a certification is only, I think, 3 departments in the state, or 2 departments? 3 departments in the state that have those high standards, and Buckhannon is one of them. I was in North Carolina last month, ran into a police chief, and I said, have you ever heard of CALEA? And he goes, yeah, we're CALEA certified. How do you know about it? You're from West Virginia. You should know about it. I mean, that's the standard it is, number one. And we have invested that 1% sales tax into the fire department. So yes, I have gone back and checked, and we are doing that. The 1%, you're right, is paid by county residents, Sam, absolutely. The 1% sales tax as visitors, tourists, and city residents. And city residents are now paying $90 a year for their fire protection. And we're looking at asking the county residents that we provide the same service for, is just have the same skin in the game. The equal skin in the game. You're getting the same service as the city residents. So I don't know, you know, how else to explain it other than level the playing field and other things. But we will constantly look at those budgets, and we're not a business. We're not trying to make a huge profit. Believe me, you know, we've got way more work that needs to be done than we can ever pay for. We have millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of infrastructure that's just sitting there waiting to get done. Sidewalks to get fixed and all those things, you know, so I do, again, appreciate it. Sam, we'll keep having those conversations. Where you at, Sam? All right, thanks.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming this evening. I do want to point out, on the first Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock, JB, Chief Kimball, reports to our city council. You do not have to come to city council chambers to see that report. Rodney, who's here to video and live stream this evening's meeting, comes to our city council meetings as well. You can tune in via Channel 3's Facebook page and watch it live. He reports all the calls that have been responded to over the past month in the city limits, in the first due, the mutual aid to other departments. It's a very transparent report, and we hear that every single month. We meet on the third Thursday of every month as well, and that's when Police Chief Matt Gregory comes and gives his report. Similar, except it's of course only the city police department within the city limits reports the activity and the incidents that were responded to the previous month. Our budget right here is fully transparent. You can request a copy of it at City Hall. You can view it on the state auditor's site. Everything that we do is is in the public record, or is in public eye and public record. The only, just for housekeeping, just for clarification, the only two things that a council or a commission can go into executive session for, which means the public is not permitted to be in there, is to discuss personnel, hiring and firing, because those are private matters, or property, because economic development opportunities, if they're announced too soon, it can upset the apple cart if that word gets out before the ink is signed on paper. Those are the only two things that we can go into executive session for. Everything else is in the public eye. So please come down to City Hall, ask us questions. We're more than happy to answer them. We'll provide you with any information that you need to do your research and see the business of the city. Because we are I always say we kind of out-punch our weight. We're a small community, but we act like a pretty large entity. We provide water, sewage, we collect garbage, fire and police, parks and recreation, street department, all with 6,000 people. And I hope you agree that our community is a very nice place to live. We work really hard. We all do. The commission works hard with us. Our delegation works hard with us. Our citizens work hard with us. We're very proud of the community that we have. We win awards all the time about how aesthetically pleasing it is, what a great place it is to live and work. And we're very proud of those accolades. When you're part of a city municipal government, the cards that we're dealt are that we have a lot of reoccurring liabilities to pay for. Meaning we can't just put it up and say, there it is, and we don't have to do anything with it ever again. We are hiring people, we are keeping people on staff, we are buying vehicles, we are improving parks, we are improving streets, and every time it snows, we have to go back and work on those streets again. We are in the business of working on reoccurring liabilities. And we all know what has happened, because everybody knows what their own pocketbooks look like. You go to the grocery store now versus 3 or 4 years ago, it's a big difference. But everything that we buy too, we face the same thing. So we're doing the best we can. We're strong fiscally, but we pinch pennies. We do. We work hard too. There are things that we would like to have that we can't have because they're not needs. They're wants. And we work on needs first. That is our philosophy. So again, come down. We're happy to talk to you. Our meetings are open to the public, 7 p.m. first and third Thursdays of the month. We have them at City Hall, City Council chambers at City Hall, or you can always tune in on Channel 3, Buckhannon's Facebook page. So with that, again, thank you for being here. Thanks to thank you. Oh, thank you to the firefighters. Thank you for everything that you do. Ours, Tallmansville, Selbyville, Rock Cave, wherever you are in Upshur County, thank you. Thank you for what you do. At this time, from City Council members, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn. All right. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.